So thank you for that. And now, if you are ready, I mean, many of you knows the story of the project, but Christina will bring us through the 4.5 year activity of the MINDtheGEP, especially for those who are, new or not completely on the page of the MINDtheGEP. But behind this slide, I think there is a vision. That there is a vision that we all share on science and research. So thank you, Christina, for presenting the journey, and thank you for having so convinced and so passionate to push this vision together.
Thanks, everybody, internal and external, that came to this final. It doesn't sound very good, final, but it's our final of within the project, final meeting, final conference. And well, most of you know they were part of this journey, strongly part of this journey. So what I'm trying to summarize in these 45 minutes I have, trying to summarize what they were the main elements of this long journey. And even for us that we are part, and you know what I'm going to say, I think that one of the key elements of what we were able to achieve was really also this a lot of space on reflection, self-reflection, cross partners within partners. So in a way, I hope it will for sure be interesting for those that are not part of the consortium, but also for the consortium. I hope I'm able to summarize all the journey we did together. It was a long journey that started in February, just at the beginning of the pandemic. And I think it's very important to start from who we are. And this is just to recognize who took part to this journey, but that there is also theoretical reason, I tell you in a moment, why we should start from who are we, from the standpoint theory, of feminist standpoint theory. So who are we? This is the consortium. For those that don't know us, it's a consortium made by 7, the so-called implementing partners, those that have worked on the different steps, the different time-consuming, time commitment, but steps in trying to pursue what is called structural change. And you can see is different universities across different countries: Italy, Poland, Spain, Ireland, Serbia. And that was a very interesting consortium. Interesting because of the people, I'll tell you in a moment, but interesting also in terms of comparison, because we are different countries, and but also different types of organizations. Most of us are public university, but we are not all public university. There is SCNR, which is a public, not university. And then we have also a private research center in Spain. And this was very interesting to see how the issue of gender inequality and how to address gender inequality differs across different countries with different institutional, cultural setting, and also across different types of organizations. So this, I think it was a very challenging, but I think it was very enriching experience to compare. And then we had the so-called free supporting partners that they didn't have at all a marginal role. They were central in all this process, and that was Elsevier, which is a publishing house. Knowledge and Innovation, I tell you in a moment, that was the institution that is based in Rome as well, and that they were responsible for the so-called monitor and evaluating. And I tell you in a moment how crucial was this accompanying, I don't know in English, us during this journey. And then Uppsala, which again was officially the role of dissemination, but again, actually, it was always part of these exchanges and spaces of reflection, self-reflection, disseminating these, and it was crucial. and who we are. I think it's important to always to put faces behind the work before I tell you something more about what we did, the approach, and so on. And no, it's this one. And I would like to start with the knowledge and innovation team responsible for the monitoring. And the reason why I'm starting from that, it's a bit an emotional moment, but I could not start with that, is that they were part of the designing of this project. Before winning this project, we tried a couple of times, no, even more, but 4 times. But we never gave up, because the more we were going on, we were always good marks, but just like the first one excluded. So at the end, and from the beginning, we started to think about MINDtheGEP and so on. We had knowledge innovation that before was called, when we started. No, when we started, you had another name. It was already, it doesn't matter. And when we started, it was Giovanna Deklich, that was part of the first think and thoughts of this project. And unfortunately, Giovanna left us some time ago. And she was completely, really, this journey would have never started without her. And so the first thank goes to her. And I will tell you in a moment that one of the things we have produced, even though the word producing we don't like, but we have created, is a book. And we will dedicate this book to Giovanna, without whom this tree would never have grown. So this was really the beginning of this journey. So who are we? I'm going very quickly. Okay, the others of this is the coordination team. We are a lot, and just to give faces, and every team, the coordinating team, but every team has mix of competencies, and because diversity is crucial and so we are a mix of sociologists, philosophy, economists, but as you see also the so-called art science, and also with some men on board, which is very crucial. I will close with that. And this is us. I'm going quickly. Why it doesn't look like that? The CNR team, you can see it. Again, this is probably one of the most gender balanced team. But that's, and obviously also the local the PI of this team is a man, which is again something very important for structural change. The Irish team, University of Gdańsk, we had the director thanking us. You see also very numerous, intense team. Jagiellonian University, we are there. Yeah, and again, a lot of them. So I'm just, but at least you see names and you see faces. We have also these team, as I told you, in Serbia, that is the electrical engineering team. And this was very interesting as well, because most of the other academic institutions we had were multidisciplinary academic institutions, both social science, humanities, and this was really an engineering team. And that's what very interesting to see how it's different, also challenging gendering research and institutions. And then, as I told you, the Spanish team was the only private institution team, again in the, let's say, STEM area, the Automotive Technological Center. And obviously, Uppsala University, the dissemination communication team, and Elsevier team, the publishing house that was working especially on the gender in publishing issues. Why starting and saying words about us? That's also a way to, obviously, is the end of a journey, and I think who took part in the journey is very important. And as the director was saying, I think because he took part yesterday to the project meeting and then to the dinner and dancing and so on. I mean, when you want, I tell you also more theoretical things, but science is a collective effort, and gender equality change is a collective challenge and effort. And if you work in a team that is competent, reliable, cooperative, and also cheerful, and where you take time to be together, to think together, to reflect together, to know each other, that's really the food for change. So in this sense, I would like to thank everybody that took part to this journey, and they took part to this journey with the competence, the reliability, and also this style that is crucial to create things, because we know that to enjoy and to create things needs this kind of cooperative and cheerful style, which is not just, it's also feminist way of practicing science teach us that. And okay, we had a lot of meetings. Meetings were obviously scientific, but meetings were also eating and dancing together. And that was really, it's not marginal. I think it was really part of the building together, journey together, and being, let's say, successful. Why, I don't know how long I've been, but why starting from us? Why starting from who we are? Well, that's part of my role as coordinator, really, to thank all of those that took part of this journey in different ways. But there is also theoretical reasons that has framed also our journey, and which is the standpoint theory. Probably most of you are familiar with that, with Sandra Harding, Donna Haraway, and with the famous book From the Woman Question to the Science, Questioning Feminism. So that the concept of situated knowledge, the idea that there is an objective universal truth in science. Science is not objective, but this idea of the neutrality of merit, the neutrality of excellence is not there. And it's important to emphasize the standpoint position where science is produced and science is done. And so it's important to start from us, from who we are, from this theoretical reason. And the standpoint theory, I'm very quick, it has also been traduced more in the literature on structural change with this, let's say, slogan, which is not just a slogan. Londa Shimber, she's one of that fixed it, but there is, other scholars contributing. The idea that to achieve gender equality, it has to do not just with fixing numbers, which I come back. It is important, but it's not is necessary, but not sufficient. But it's about fixing institution and fixing knowledge. So it's about not just changing those that do research, but changing the way science is done, research is done. Standpoint theory and fixing number, fixing institute, fixing knowledge are two starting point of our project that we have tried to go along all the journey. What are the other pillars of our approach? Again, from a more theoretical starting point, but gender as a social structure that it's a framework that is more famous maybe among sociologists, but I tell you in a moment. No data, no policies, and the pendulum between cultural and structural actions. And if you are patient with me for other 20 minutes, I guess, I'll try to tell you the main achievement and also challenges in these three areas. Gender as a social structure, no data, no policies. We have already said, Sveva was also saying that, obviously, no data, no problems, no policies is a slogan, but it's not a slogan. It's really that to fight gender inequality, you need to assess assess gender inequalities. And to assess gender inequality means to use also a framework like the one of Barbara Risman is one of those, but there are others, obviously scholars, that gender is done at different levels, and it is done at the it has to do with the micro level, the level of women and men, and how women and men build their paths, and there is, for example, the debate that maybe women are disadvantaged in careers because they are less productive, less excellent. Is it true? Is not true? There is evidence on that. There is quantitative evidence, but also if we interview and if we give the word to them, what has to do with that? And also if it's true that women are more less prompt to apply and so on. Is it true? Is not true? If it's true, how this interplay with the meso level and the micro level. So how it has interplay with the cultural norms of what is proper or not proper to do, and which is called, for example, the imposter syndrome metaphor, and how it has to do with the organizational culture and practice, how it has to do how excellence is defined, how the academic ideal is defined, and how much women or the marginalized subjectivity fit into this ideal model, the academic model, and so on. And then obviously there is the interplay also with the macro level, usually it's a national level, maybe also the regional level, and what happens within research institutions has to do with university policies, but also with the crucial policies that has to do with the gender distribution of care and paid and unpaid work, the issue of social policies. This is a framework on the why of gender inequalities and why it's important before starting to collect data and before starting to analyze and to design policies. Very important to have this framework of a mix of micro, meso, macro factor, but also cultural structure, institutional factors, because also data and policies have to be multi-level and multidimensional. And this we know from, but it's very crucial that we need different types of data to be able to capture the various factors that construct or deconstruct gender inequality. This is what we did within MINDtheGEP, and we did a mix of quantitative and qualitative data. First at the macro level, we are different contexts, different national contexts, different institutional contexts, and different cultural contexts, so different gender regimes, and we will call in our book. And then we collected data at the meso level of the organization, quantitative data on the gender scissors, on how many women are sitting in different governing bodies, like 53 indicators. It was a big effort, but it's really a way to see quantitatively, which is not the only things, but how it's going on in terms monitoring. And then we have also quantitative data at the micro level and a big collection of qualitative data, interviewing women and men at early career stage and late career stage. Capturing their views on their own careers and how they interpreted their own slow and fast careers, and how they see the organization in which they work, and so on. And also interviews with the so-called key informants like rector, vice-rector department. A huge collection of data that we have tried to, let's say, not summarize, but to put from data analysis fashion to a comparative book that is about to go out. We are really in the process of giving the book to the Edward Elgar, Gender Inequality Research and Size, a multi-level analysis across Europe. Here is just, again, just to give sense to you of the different topics and that we touch in this book. And so starting from, again, also in the book, we have this macro, meso, micro level. So starting with painting a quantitative portrait of the different countries that belong to different gender regimes and different organizations. And then from the qualitative interviews, what emerged on the different issues like precariousness, glass ceiling, a leadership model, balancing family and passion, defining and experience resilience, what emerge from male and female researchers' views that are embedded in different macro and meso contexts. This is the approach. And the last part is more on how to move from gaps and things that we see to policies, and there is more a focus on some good practices in MINDtheGEPs gender equality plans, on the mentoring as an example of one possible actions. Main insights from the book. I will be very, very quick, just because obviously, how much time do you still have? Anyway, 10 minutes I have, 15 minutes. Okay, main insights from the book, very quickly, but they are the beginning of the policies. Neoliberal turn, we know that most countries, most institutions have this so-called neoliberal turn with the publish or perish logic, with an impact especially on increasing the precariousness of young researchers. And this has different implications. So I give you just the passion trap. The passion is like the fire of doing science, but it's also a trap because it's expected that people have passion, that they can give up other spheres of their life, the so-called unconditional worker model, the boundaryless worker model, no free time, no work-life balance, a sense of duty. And this passion trap has some gender implications because of the different symbolic and material gender allocations in paid and unpaid work. And so the passion trap has different, I go more to the third one, to different implications, but these implications are not we saw from the data collected that not all are aware of this implication. So, there is evidence that maybe it's not surprise, but it's very interesting that women have a higher perception of gender gaps and they have a higher support for gender policies, while most of men, again, is a result, is not ideology, is a result. Most men have a sort of gender blindness. They are less aware of the gender gaps. And this is interesting, and we come back at the end of this. Second, inside the motherhood wall, we know that motherhood is surely a penalty in careers, and okay, there is a lot of evidence on that. But nevertheless, motherhood is not the only reason for gender inequalities in science and research. And there is this hypervisibility of motherhood actually in the politically correct discourses on gender change, which is crucial, but is not the only reason why there are gender inequalities. And there is the issue of how excellence and merit are defined and experienced, and is crucial, the conscious and unconscious biases, and of the current evaluation system, the cooptation system that is not used as a rhetoric, because the rhetoric is the merit, but there are still a lot of cooptation systems that we know it depends on networks, on how much you fit in the unconditional worker model, so the betrayal of motherhood and so on, and gendered leadership stereotypes. So sorry to be quick, I just put some food in the basket, but obviously from these reflections that we have summarized in the book, we go on designing GEPs. So from gaps to GEPs, how do we fight gender inequalities? One of the approach we had actually, it was a bit the driving approach. With the standpoint theory and the gender as a social structure framework, is this the pendulum between cultural and structural actions? Fixing number is important, but it's not enough. We have to fix in knowledge and institutions. How do we do that? With this pendulum between cultural and structural actions, multiple barriers, multiple actions, which means cultural and structural actions with men and women, not just with women, with senior union staff, with research minister staff, top and down and bottom up approach. And we give you some example of this pendulum between structural and cultural action. Just example, we did many things. For example, on reducing the motherhood penalty, okay? The pendulum can be structural. For example, some of us have experienced additional research funds for women returning from maternity leave, or they are negotiating a reduction in teaching loads, again, to free women time to do research in a moment where they give a lot of time to care because of the gender division of care responsibilities. But also, for example, ETF in Serbia, they experienced some laboratory for children during the ETF Science Day, and that it was very interesting for family reconciliation. But these are kind of example of structural, but structural has to go with cultural, because otherwise you might reproduce those cultural models that are behind gender inequalities. And for example, on this issue, the idea that you just support mothers, it can be a way to reinforce the idea that it's women that have to take care. So policies to campaign to promoting involved fatherhood are important. These are two examples of two campaigns that were made by University of Gans and the Irish partner. Reducing gender-based violence, another example of structural cultural. Obviously, it's important to have protocol on prevention, or this sportelli anti-violence desk spread all over the university, where people can approach, because we know that people don't go to the institutional figure, but they start to speak about episodes of violence they had or they look at, if there is a more peer situation. But obviously, again, gender-based violence, any change has to do with conscious and unconscious biases. So it's very important, all trainings on that. And gender in teaching and research, again, example of structural and cultural. Most of us have built the so-called Best Thesis Award with gender approaches, but also putting gender within the teaching curriculum, the gender perspective, or gender in research. And for example, in ETF, our engineering partner, they put in robotic courses on robotic gender perspective. And an interesting thing is that they build like this robot where people can do questions and answer sessions. And this robot is female, Ada, in the name of Ada Lovelace. So that's interesting also to change the imaging that science is male. No, science can be female. And last example, and then 5 minutes, is the examples on breaking the glass ceiling. And again, the examples of the pendulum. We wrote a policy brief on that. So to break the glass ceiling, you need to put money. You can put money, and we did. With, for example, the University of Torino giving extra, let's say, money points to those departments that are hiring women as full professors. So it's fixing numbers. But not just to do with fixing number, but also to be able to approve quite contested actions like this, the debate on gender quotas, on positive actions. You need to build consensus. And you need to build consensus on the causes and the remedies of gender gaps, and to build consensus, so to break the resistance on the endorsement of meritocracy, and to build consensus for structural change. That's the last 5 minutes, I promise. It's very important, not just the why, but it's very important how, and it's very important the process. And this was another pillar of what we have tried to do in this long journey together, especially with the support of our mentoring and evaluating partner, Knowledge and Innovation. And it means to have multiple sites of training, discussion, self-reflection, negotiation, decision-making within each organization. We did Empowering Lab, we call that, for among young researchers, but Breaktop Lab, very crucial, where you have to bring people sitting in decision-making arenas, which is very difficult to have them, but they need to be in spaces where they not just inform, where you debate, you listen with feminist scholars or with others. So it's really important to involve them. We have their example, like the mentoring. And having all along the journey spaces of reflection and self-reflection within the teams, which is very important, and with all the different pieces of the organization as much as possible. And here there are just some examples of, for example, a participatory approach will be quick. Like in Torino, we build this so-called Rete Delegati, delegate network with a representative in all departments. And we were meeting and having a moment of like seminars with scholars and moment of discussion of the different actions, what they meant, how to build, how to break resistances, very important. Jagiellonian University also used a participatory approach, which was very interesting, even with some challenges, but you can go. And for example, Master Technological University used a very intersectional approach, which is another crucial issue. So together with the gender equality plan team, with this race equality network and LGBTQ plus network. This is another thing. So obviously, it's very crucial for the how process, which is connected to the why, multiple sites of training discussion also across organization. This is the richness of being part of a European project, that we have to work a lot within our organization, but it's so crucial to have moments like yesterday, like today, where we reflect together, and it's not just rhetoric, mutual learning, but it's very crucial. And we have produced a lot of deliverable briefs, and of all these things I told you, you can go on our webpage, and there are a lot of policy briefs and open forum, and we are summarizing the main, some good practices and some suggestions in one of our final deliverable in the language of the European Commission, which is the White Book, and we are finalizing it, and then it will be in the web page once it's ready, where you can see some good practices in governance monitoring by the key areas. 2 minutes, and it's really the end. What about after us? It's like, and the famous issue of sustainability. We know that what we could do in this long journey, we could do because we had a lot of money. We had money, and we have a lot of competencies, interdisciplinary, different levels, different roles. So a lot of resources, human skills, and money. And there is no change without this. And strong institutional commitment, this is what we have tried to do. We are activists, mottos us, but we are not volunteering. So once we finish this project, we go to also to do other things. But the institution, if they really want change, they need to institutionalize figures and bodies that have the role to guide this process. And there are different kind of roles, like the gender equality manager, the gender data analyst, no data, no problem, no policies, but also scientific coordinator, because here we are a big team. I mean, I was the official scientific coordinator, but all of us were scientifically putting insights. Not just, I mean, the risk of pink washing, what is called, is that it becomes just a document that you have to fill to get financing for the horizon. And the administration is great, but they don't have the competence, the theoretical and skills to do that. It's a collective work. So it's very important that there are also scientific recognition, a scientific role for guiding GEP is very important. And I really finished that gender perspective, gender views, and I say feminist views because we know that there are different Yeah, they have to be inside the visible, because if you discuss about gender quotas and so on, and you don't have someone discussing with you with insights, evidence on that, on the debate that is an attack to meritocracy or whatever, it's very important to have feminist views in trainings and decision-making arena. It's very important to empowering men as allies. So there is no gender change without men's involvement in change. But not because men are bad, but because men are part of doing or undoing gender. And so we have to involve everybody. Also, women can reproduce gender stereotypized practice. We know that. So it's very important to involve them. And then last, and they're finished. No online meetings. This is my final word. Which is, again, it's not a slogan, but it's really obviously online meetings are a crucial tool, and we couldn't do many things without having also within the consortium online, but there is a huge difference when you meet in presence, and this is part of no publish, no perish logic of the neoliberal turn. Is part of the idea that science is a collective effort, and is a collective effort with different subjectivity, with different views, and you need time. It's not. And to have time, you need time to meet, time to discuss, time to self-reflect, and time to dancing.